It's Monday, September 22nd, 2025, and I'm tracking now Major Hurricane Gabrielle as it continues to move just past Bermuda in the central Atlantic. Gabrielle is expected to continue strengthening all the way up to Category 4 strength before weakening back down to a Category 3. This storm will have some impacts on Bermuda, but for the most part, the worst of the storm will remain off to the east. But we could see this storm impact parts of Europe as well as it heads over there. So here's the complete track from the National Hurricane Center, and you can see by Friday and Saturday the storm making its way all the way to the Azores, and even places like Portugal and Spain could be affected by the storm as it gets closer to Europe. Although the impacts certainly won't be as strong as a major Category 3 or 4 hurricane, we could still see some impacts from the storm even over in the eastern part of the Atlantic. And here's a closer look at where the storm will be proximity to the Azores and also Spain and Portugal. You can see by Friday some of the effects from the storm most likely being felt in the Azores, but potentially a direct impact from a Category 1 hurricane. We can't rule that out at this point, but later in the week we should have better information on the storm and the storm's track, and eventually the storm will weaken to a tropical storm or just become extra tropical as it pushes closer to Europe. So here's the spaghetti plot forecast, and you can see once the storm system gets past the Azores, there is a lot of opportunity for the storm to either go north, south, or directly east. It just depends on what the weather pattern is as the storm starts to approach Europe, but the impacts could be felt all the way from the UK and Ireland down to Spain and Portugal. So this is a wide window, and in between we have places like France and even parts of Germany could experience some effects from the storm. So this is something we'll be watching as it gets closer to that area. So here's the wind forecast from the American model. You can see how quickly Gabrielle moves from one side of the ocean all the way to the other. But there will still be some impacts for Bermuda, although pretty light in terms of the wind. That wind field will eventually move all the way over to Europe where it spreads out and weaken. So it won't be quite as strong as it is east of Bermuda. So Bermuda really dodges the bullet here. But as the storm gets on the other side of the ocean, there could be some significant impacts for the Azores, and then the impact level goes down going into Europe, but the wind field does spread out quite a bit. So we could see some impacts over there for places like Portugal and Spain. And here's the wind forecast for Bermuda. Notice how the wind field is a bit spread out over the island, but wind gusts anywhere from 10 to 20 miles per hour. That's just about it. Maybe a gust above 25. That's pretty much as weak as it goes, having a Category 3 storm just off the coast. So we will be dealing with the storm for at least the next 24 hours here, maybe even 48 hours with the waves, but eventually the impacts will move out pretty quickly. And here's that wave forecast for Bermuda. We will see some 10-foot plus waves, but the island's pretty fortified, well built for something like this. And as the storm system passes by, the waves are only really with the island as we head through the next 48 hours, and then conditions should start to improve pretty quickly. And here's a look at Europe into next weekend. Notice how that wind field spreads out quite a bit as Gabrielle approaches, but the winds maybe upwards of 20 to 30 miles per hour, as high as 40 miles per hour in spots. Can't rule out a 50 mile per hour gust as this gets closer to places like Spain and Portugal. If it does end up hitting France or even England or the UK rather and Ireland, I do think the wind impacts will be a lot lower if it travels a bit farther to the north. But there still will be some impacts for Europe from Gabrielle as it gets closer to the continent. And this is the wave height forecast from the American model. Notice how there are some significant wave heights just off the coast of Portugal going into next weekend. So this will be late Saturday night and into Sunday and Monday. So it really wraps up by Monday about midday. But we will continue to see some 10-foot plus waves, maybe as high as 15 to 18 feet in parts of eastern or western Portugal and northwestern Spain. So the beaches there definitely will have some rough surf with the storm system coming in. But the fortunate thing is this thing will weaken very quickly, and it's not expected to last all that long. Even though Gabrielle will be moving out quickly, we have two more weather systems behind it that could potentially become tropical systems, and even a hurricane can't be ruled out at this point. So we have two waves that have come across the Atlantic. Both are moving into favorable conditions for development. One has a 80% chance of development, while the other one has about a 50% chance. So we'll be watching both of these areas for another potential tropical system. So here's the wind forecast over the next several days. Once Gabrielle moves out, it does open up the window for another storm to form as we head towards the end of the week and into the weekend, and even going into next week, we'll be watching for the opportunity for at least one storm to form. I don't think we're going to see both areas of development become a tropical system. Most likely it'll be one or the other. basically takes away all of the energy for the other one to form. So this is something we'll be watching over the next several days. So with Gabrielle headed out to sea, our next storm on the list would be Umberto. If it does form, we do have several more names on the list here, but it's getting late in hurricane season now. So I don't think we're going to see all of these names on the list here, but if there's one name you think could be the worst storm this season, leave a comment below. I'll be interested to see which one you picked. Now we head over to the continental US, where we do have plenty of active weather going on right now. It includes two weather systems, one over parts of the Midwest and South that may cause some severe weather opportunities today, and another one over the West Coast and Rockies that may cause some severe weather today, but also another chance of severe weather and even some flood risks as we push through tomorrow. The main threat we have with the current setup is going to be a chance for some flooding. We've already seen some significant rain across parts of Oklahoma and Arkansas, and more rain is in the forecast. There's even an active flood warning for parts of northwest Arkansas, so we don't want to see any more rainfall in this area, but that's what's in the forecast. The Storm Prediction Center has highlighted multiple areas of severe weather potential today. Level 2 out of 5 risks for places in Oklahoma and Kansas, also in Iowa, Nebraska, northeastern Kansas, and even through parts of Kentucky and Ohio today. So a pretty active day overall. Nothing too severe, but we could see a few isolated severe storms in all of these areas. And the severe weather also coincides with a risk for some isolated flash flooding today. The highest risk will be in parts of Kansas and Oklahoma, which is a level 2 out of 4 risk, where we could see some isolated flash flooding. Excessive rain is still possible, though, for a good portion of the country today. However, moving into tomorrow, the same locations that are saturated right now could see even more heavy rain on the way. So we're talking Oklahoma and Arkansas once again, and that's why we have that flood watch that goes all the way until Wednesday. Here's the future radar forecast pushing over the next couple of days here. You can see as that storm system comes in out of the Rockies, it will spark a chance for even more shower and storm action through the day tomorrow and going into Wednesday's forecast. So we have another round of some heavier rain, even though more showers and storms are likely even through the day today as well. So we are expecting to see a couple of rounds of heavy showers and storms, and this could cause some more flooding in these locations. Aside from that, we do have a risk of severe weather from the storms not only today, but also through the day tomorrow, but the risk is going to be mainly some wind and hail. So I do think the flood risk is a little more significant from the storms we're expecting. So here's the rainfall forecast as we head through the next couple of days here. Notice how we do have some pockets of really heavy stuff, upwards of 1 inch, 2 inches, even 3, 4, and 5 inches of rain for parts of the area. Not every location will be washed out with rain, but Arkansas will probably see the most. And you can see zoomed in here that upwards of 3 to 4, even 5 inches of rain is expected in already saturated ground in this area. So this is not a great forecast over the next few days. Definitely have emergency alerts enabled on your phone if a flash flood warning is issued as these heavy rain showers and storms work their way into the forecast. And we go out to the southwest, where we will see some severe weather today and even a chance for some isolated flash flooding as that storm system passes through, but it's not expected to be a widespread problem. And looking ahead, we'll be tracking a few things in the forecast here. That does include Gabrielle intensifying, also the tropics staying hot with 2 more weather systems to potentially form. We also have more severe storms potentially in the forecast over the next few days that may even make their way over to parts of the East Coast. And then we also have the fall to winter outlook. I just made a video on that, but we'll be tracking more updates as we move through the season as winter starts to make its way into the forecast here. Thanks for watching. We'll have updates on all of these things over the next several days.